Hey guys. Sorry, let me adjust my camera a little bit. It looks like it's in a weird position, but that's okay. Okay. We'll just wait a minute for everybody for a few minutes and then we'll get started. For a few minutes and then we'll get started. For a few minutes and then we'll get started. For a few minutes and then... Sorry. I have like my laptop set up so I can see what's happening because I'm doing this on my phone and the chat is like really weird on mobile, so it's going to be interesting. Can you guys hear me okay? Because I'm not sure the microphone is in a good place and I can move it if I need to. Okay, thank you. It looks like you guys can both hear me, so that's good. We'll give it a few minutes and then we'll get going. Thank you both, Michelle and Alex, for showing up. I appreciate it. When you do these kinds of things, you always worry that like nobody's gonna show up. So I'm glad that somebody's here. I hope you guys have had a good week and a good holiday season. Did you guys do anything fun at all for Christmas or like go visit anybody? We went down, actually I didn't go down anywhere. All my family went to my brother's house, but he lives like super far away. So we just stayed home for Christmas, but that was good. Kind of low key. I like doing that. Michelle, you stayed home too. That's good. Oh, Alex, you finished Arcane. That's like my favorite show lately. I need to rewatch it because I actually want to do a video, like a YouTube video looking at just the storytelling structure and why it works so well and like just kind of break things down a little bit because I thought it was excellent and I loved it. So, well, what was your favorite part of Arcane? What did you like best? Or like your favorite character even? And Michelle, if you haven't seen Arcane yet and you like animated shows at all, you should check it out because it's really good. Hi, Krista. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining us. We're just kind of hanging out a little bit until wait a few minutes and then we'll see where we're at. But we were talking about Arcane. Michelle, I have heard of RWBY. I don't know if you're supposed to say that a different way or if you're just supposed to say RWBY. But I have heard of that one, but I don't know like anything about it. So. Alex, your favorite characters are Vi and Caitlyn and Jinx. I think I liked Vi was my favorite character, but I also really liked Jinx. I think I just really appreciated like the relationship between those two characters too. Like, I don't know, character relationships and stories are my favorite, and I thought that they did a really good job with that. So I really like that. Ruby, it's pronounced Ruby or RWBY, Ruby. Okay, that probably makes sense. I mean, I guess you could pronounce W that way, why not? No, I have not seen that though, but looks good. It's really good. My son and I watch it. It gets better as the seasons go on because they're able to make the animations more detailed. Oh, okay. That's cool. I like when they do that, when shows like start doing well and they get like more budget and then things improve. That's always fun. Yeah. Yeah, I thought the relationship between Vi and Jinx was just really well written also. And also the relationship between Jinx and oh, what's her like father figure character? Silco, I think is his name. That was really good too, and made me cry on the last episode, which is always fun. So I really like that. Well, what is Michelle? What is Ruby even about? Because I don't know about it really. I know that like some friends that have watched it and thought it was really good, but I don't know anything about it. Yes, his name is Silco. Okay, I'm glad I got that right. Um, you were heartbroken at the end. Yeah, I thought that was crazy at the end too. I thought that he was just playing with her emotions also, and then because that's like the typical villain thing to do, right? Is that like, oh, he doesn't really care about her, he's just using her, and then at the end you like see that no, he really did care about her, and I just, oh, my heart, it was so good. I loved it. So anyways, if you guys haven't seen Arcane, you should go watch that. Krista, you've been meaning to get into Ruby also. Yeah, I'm trying to even think, like, I can't even picture what it is. Okay, fantasy world, anime style, different characters have different magical abilities. Huh. I'll have to check it out. I mean, that sounds like something I'd enjoy. Magical abilities and things like that. Anime. I like anime. So maybe I'll have to check that out. I am actually looking for something else to watch. I just finished oh, what's that show on Hulu? Dope Sick, I think that's what it's called. I just finished that one. That one was really good. Arcane is on Netflix, Krista, and it's excellent. It's only 9 episodes, I think, but it's really good. And the animation style is gorgeous. Like, that was probably one of my favorite parts of it, is it just, like, it looks really good. I have heard that some people don't like that kind of animation style, but I really love it, and I thought it was really good. It kind of, like, in some ways, it kind of reminded me of that Spider-Man animated show, Into the Spider-Verse. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit, but I really liked that animation style. Have any of you read Wheel of Time? No, I have not read Wheel of Time. I have a hard time with books series that are like, if it's longer than 4 or 5 books, like, it better be really good and it better be really intriguing to make me want to pick it up, because that's just like a huge commitment, and my TBR is so long that I cannot commit to giant series like that unless I find them really compelling. I'm currently like reading this ongoing science fiction series that's like, I think I just read book 14 or something, which is like really long, and even that is getting to the point where I'm like, okay, if we could wrap it up sometime, that'd be great. It's kind of fun because like you get really attached to the characters after so many books, but I don't know, it's just long. It's long for me. It's hard to justify that much time investment. And I have heard good things about Wheel of Time generally overall, but I've also heard a couple of things, and I can't even remember specifically what, but I've seen a few booktubers reading that series and reviewing it, especially with the TV show adaptation coming up. And I've just heard some things that I'm like, I don't know, that might not be for me. I'm not sure that I would like that. And I think all the books are really long. At least I know there are some really long ones, so I don't know. I probably won't read it. Maybe I'm just being too dismissive. Like, nope, not gonna read it, but I don't think it's for me. So I probably won't. But if you read it, Michelle, you'll have to let us know what you think, because it's just too intimidating to me. I may watch the show anyways, just because I know Wheel of Time is like a super popular, like, big fantasy series, but I probably will not read the books. Yeah, Michelle, I'm with you there. Maybe I will just stick to the TV show as well and not bother with the books. I don't know. I have so many books that I want to read already, and things that sound much more interesting to me, I guess I should say. So, eventually maybe I'll pick up Wheel of Time, but until my TBR gets shorter, it's not going to happen. All right. Well, I think I am going to just go ahead and get started. So I think you guys all know me, those of you that are here already, but I'm super excited that you all are joining me here. I'm looking over here because I have my laptop over here. If you see me looking away, it's because I'm trying to read off of the laptop screen some questions that I got earlier and wanted to start there, I guess. But thank you for joining me. I am going to try to multitask a little bit and sign these book plates. So I gave away these book plates, and I have a bunch of blank ones that I need to sign, and then this art print thing with map on the back, and then a bookmark. And now that the book is out, I do need to package all of these and send them to people who pre-ordered the book, which is really exciting. So that's what we're going to do, and I'm going to try to multitask and do that at the same time while I talk to you guys. So we'll see how that goes. I am super nervous about this. I've never done a live stream before, so if I'm a little awkward, I'm sorry. We're just going to do the best we can. And also I wanted to say that if you have not ordered the book already, or if you did order it and you didn't fill out the pre-order form, I did have a couple of people that were waiting on the paperback to be out, and that is up now. If you still want to buy the book, or if you just want to submit your receipt so you can get some pre-order stuff, I'm just going to leave that form open until the end of the month. So feel free to submit it, even if you bought the book after release date. That's fine. I don't care. I just want to send this stuff out to whoever bought the book. So anyways, thank you all for your encouragement about my awkwardness. I appreciate it. So if you did order it, I am going to try to make a run to the post office tomorrow and drop this off. So hopefully it will be arriving in the mail shortly. Okay, I'm going to start with some questions that some people sent in ahead of time. And then if you guys have other questions you want to ask in the chat, feel free to do that. Any questions that you have about the book, whatever you want to know about writing, anything. So, but first of all, I'm going to start with some questions that I got from, this is from Lucy G, and she asked me, she's somebody that I am friends with on Instagram. Her Instagram is Books and Fandoms Galore. And she asked what was the hardest part about writing Tethered Spirits. And so there were a couple of things that were really hard. I think the ending was probably the hardest. Thank you all for joining me on Team Awkward, by the way. I appreciate that. So the hardest thing probably was the ending. There's a twist and a little bit of a cliffhanger. So if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about probably. But it was kind of hard to set that up without giving too much away. So that was hard. And then like I think early on it did get to a point where I was like the ending kind of came out of left field. I don't think I was foreshadowing it enough initially. And so like trying to find that balance between giving enough hints so that it didn't feel completely out of the blue, but also like still making it kind of a surprise. So that was really hard. And then it is kind of like a cliffhanger ending a little bit, which I don't always like to do, or even like as a reader, I don't like cliffhanger endings necessarily. So that was kind of hard to pull off in a way that hopefully is satisfying, but also sets up the next book really well. The other thing that was really hard was that I just had a hard time with like the length of the book, and because it is really long and there's a lot going on and a lot of pieces, and so I had a hard time with like the pacing and making sure that like everything is moving at a fast enough pace, but also that it's not dragging. I had a lot of early beta readers comment on the fact that like it felt kind of slow in parts, or like certain scenes didn't really need to be there. And so I had to cut a lot, but then I also had to add a lot of scenes because I'm an underwriter, so my first drafts are always underdeveloped. So by the time all was said and done, it ended up being about the same length, just a lot of things got changed, but that's okay. I do think the pacing is better now, but I also know that some of the reviews have mentioned that the pacing still feels a little slow, or like it takes them a long time to get from one point to the other and to move the plot forward. And I think that's fair. I think that's a fair complaint. Other people don't seem to mind as much. I have said before that like the book is not for everybody, and I did like put more of a focus on characters and character relationships and scenes that like develop characters but don't necessarily move the plot forward completely. That was a choice that I made, and I knew that it wouldn't be for everybody, but that was the story I wanted to tell, so that's fine. It doesn't have to work for everybody, and I'm okay with that. But that was probably the hardest part, was like including all of that stuff that I wanted to include, but still making sure that the pacing wasn't awful. So Michelle said that the twist at the end is good. Thank you. I'm glad that you liked the twist at the end. I really like the twist at the end now. It just was hard to pull off, but I think it works now. And I also see that I'm not the only underwriter here, so that's good. I don't know. Oh crap! I totally just messed up that bookplate and just signed my name, which is not usually how I do it. I usually just like put my little initials. So that's why we have extras, and that one will just be like a trash one. But that's okay. That's what I get for like trying to write and talk at the same time. Yeah, I feel like people either are like underwriters or like they write a lot, and most of the time I see people complaining about like all the stuff that they have to cut out of their manuscripts after a first draft. I have some of that, but mostly I'm just adding stuff in. I never write descriptions in my first drafts. Like, there's no descriptions. We don't know what anybody looks like. We don't know what anything looks like. We don't know where anybody is. There's just nothing. They're just all standing in a plain white room talking to each other. It's great. So then I have to go in and add a bunch of descriptions, which is not my favorite, but that's where we're at. Yeah, it's a collector's edition plate. Yep. It just says Tanny. That's it. Just Tanny. Actually, I think it just says Tan. Yep. So that's okay too. All right. Michelle said that's probably a fast way to draft. Yes, it is. And I do like to knock out my first drafts really quickly. I hate first drafts. If there's any part of the writing process that I wish I could just like dump words onto the page and not have to really think about it that much, first drafts, I just hate them. And if I don't get them done fast, then I like tend to stall out after a few weeks or a couple months and nothing ever gets finished. So I do try to knock those out in like, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks. For a longer book like Tethered Spirits, it did take a little longer. And then, of course, we were in the middle of 2020, which was fantastic. So it didn't get knocked out very fast, but I do like to write my first drafts as fast as possible. Because I don't like writing first drafts. I would much rather revise forever than write a first draft. So I am starting that process again, writing first drafts with the sequel to Tethered Spirits, which I almost just said the name. And some of you, I think Michelle, I told you the name, but I haven't told the name to very many people, and I'm not ready to tell everybody the name yet. So I almost said it. But anyways, I am starting to write the sequel to Tethered Spirits, and I am finding that it's really hard to like get momentum going because I'm not used to writing first drafts anymore, and like just having to come up with words out of the blue that are not already there. You know, once it's already there, then it's a little easier to like, I don't know, fix stuff and change stuff. But when you're just having to write it out of the blue, then it's really hard. So that's been a struggle. Krista has a question. What's your process on naming places, people, etc.? It kind of depends on the story, but especially for like fantasy books, and for, I guess we'll use Tethered Spirits as an example, because there's like a bunch of different countries and people and like places that they are in, and so for each like nation or people, like culture, I chose kind of a real world culture that they are like the actual culture itself is not necessarily based on that, but as far as like language goes and like naming conventions, I do try to base that on the real world a little bit, because I feel like that helps me be more consistent with things and making sure that like all the names that are Kavoran sound kind of similar, and all the names that are Atrian sound kind of similar, and all the names that are Solarian sound kind of similar, or not like similar, but like you can tell that they're from the same place. So the names that like the Kavoran names in Tethered Spirits are like Hindi names, Indian names, and then the names in Atria are like British kind of Victorian era names. And so that's kind of how I do that. And the same thing for like the names of places and the names of landmarks and things like that. I just do that, and that seems to work pretty well for me. And for fantasy, like it's really fun to choose things that are very different from, you know, like typical American English names, and play around with them. And then like sometimes I will change the spelling a little bit, or switch out a letter here and there to get different sounding names, but that are still fairly consistent with all the different places in the story. So hopefully that made sense. That was a very long explanation. It probably didn't need to be that long. The character names are creative. Thank you. There are people actually named those things. So, I didn't just, make it up completely. Let's see, Michelle says, they sound real enough to pronounce, but still foreign enough to be fantasy. Yeah, that's the objective. Like, since my books are in English and people who speak English, right, are reading them, or people who understand English at least, I don't want to get into the territory where you like look at the word and you're like, what is that? What is that word? So I do try to stick to, like, when I'm picking out names and I'm like looking through, the baby name sites and all the different languages, sometimes you come across some things that are like very unusual, that I feel like people wouldn't know how to say that or know what that's supposed to be pronounced like. So I try to stay away from those ones and find things that sound good and fit the characters. Michelle says, what general order did things come for you? Like plot first, then characters, then world building? It really depends. It's different with every book that I write. For this book in particular, it's been so long. Like this book has been in my head for a long time. So it's hard for me to pinpoint exactly. If I have to guess, I think the characters probably came first. And they came from all different, like they were all kind of supposed to be in their own story at first. So Kasari was actually a role-playing character that I made in high school, and I just used her to like role-play this story with my friends, and that was really fun. And Lucian as well. They were together always, a pair. And then, but she was like in her own story. And then Amar had a totally different name, and he was supposed to be in his own story. And then Saya was supposed to be in her own story. And Saya and Matul, his character has changed a ton, and he's like not even the same person, but he is loosely based on that character that was a part of Saya's story initially. So characters came first, and then at some point when I was a little older, I was like, okay, you have like way too many story ideas, and you probably just should like consolidate that a little bit and try to put them together in a story so that you don't have 20 different stories. Like, let's consolidate that a little bit so that you could have like a more fleshed out story and like all these subplots and things like that, instead of just like one, separate stories focusing on all these different people in all these different places. So that's what I decided to do. And these characters, like, even though they all had their own story, none of their stories were like super fleshed out. So it kind of made sense to just throw them all together and see what happened. So that's what I did. And then I think after that, probably the plot came, because as I was like piecing all their stories together and like who they were, I kind of created a plot out of that. And then the world building kind of came alongside that, mostly with the magic system, especially because of Kasari and Lucian. Because of who they were as characters, I kind of just built the magic system around that, because that was really important to their character, obviously, like magic and all of that. So, which if you've read the book, you probably know what I'm talking about with that. But like that magic piece is really important to them, so I did develop the magic system around them as characters. So, let's see. Alex says, out of all your character names from all of your books, which one is your favorite? Oh, I don't know. It's probably Valkyra in this book, and I'm not sure. I'm always curious about how other people pronounce that when they read it, because it does look a lot like the word Valkyrie. So I'm like, I wonder if people kind of use that and like, I don't know, say it different. Probably it is kind of a strange name, but I really like that name, Valkyra. And also Zira, I really like her name too, from Secrets of Peace. If you're familiar with that one. I like her name as well. Let's see. Now, Michelle said, never too many story ideas. Probably a good thing you consolidated those characters, though. Yeah, I think it was, I don't know, when I was a teenager, I like just had ideas coming out all the time, and they were very all over the place and very disorganized, and like I was a new writer and I didn't really know what I was doing, or like how to even tell a story really. And so I did have just kind of a million story ideas, and I would often like start stories and then or write like an outline for a story, but then never finish it or never even start writing it. And so that's all these characters, like that's what stage of the process they were in, I guess. They were just kind of notes on a page and, an idea for a story, but nothing concrete, nothing that was already started. And so, yeah, it was probably a good idea to consolidate that a little bit. Valkyra. Yeah, that's one I've heard before. Yes, Alex, that is the character that I'm talking about, Valkyra. and Michelle said she pronounces it Valkyra. I think that's how my critique partner said she pronounced it too, which makes sense. I mean, that's pretty close to it. Really, I mean, whatever what you want to pronounce it, I don't care, but that's how I say that. Oh. Okay, I'm discovering that it's like really hard to talk and sign book plates at the same time, in case anybody was wondering. I guess my brain just doesn't work that way. I keep wanting to write the letter that is like in whatever word I'm saying. Okay. All right, let's see. Another question that I got earlier. Oh. Dun, dun, dun. I should probably. Oh crap! What's happening? Sorry, my computer's being weird. AJ Torres asked me a couple questions. If you guys don't know AJ, she's awesome. She actually has a YouTube channel here as well. And she asked what it was like writing multiple point of view chapters. So in Tethered Spirits, if you don't know already, there are 3 protagonists, and they all have their own point of view chapters. I say there's 3 protagonists, but one of them is like more of an antagonist. Obviously she's not an antagonist in her own mind. She thinks that she's the hero of her own story or whatever. But there's 3 main characters is the point that I'm trying to make. And so the 3 characters, like the book is like there's point of view chapters from each of those 3 main characters' points of view. And honestly, that feels like it felt pretty natural for me to write that way. I always, like, most of my stories are multi-point of view. Secrets of Peace is multi-point of view. Calico Thunder Rides Again, I think, is the only story I've ever written that was not multi-point of view. And that actually felt really weird. And if you count the prologue, like, there's still multi-points of view in it. There's that one chapter, that prologue from a different point of view. So it just, I don't know, it feels very natural for me to write in different points of view. I like multi-point of view novels, but I do have a hard time when there are like so many characters that you can't keep track of or become attached to, all of them, I guess. And so 3 or 4 is kind of the max for me as a reader. And so, yeah, so I liked writing 3 point of view characters. It was kind of tricky to balance because unlike, like in Secrets of Peace, Zira is very much the main character, and even though there's chapters from other characters' points of view, it's still very much her story, and she's really the one that we're following most. In this book, they're like the 3 characters, I consider all of them to be main characters. I guess if I were going to pick one, like Amar's story is really the piece that's holding everything together. But really all 3 of them are main characters. And so in that regard, it was a little harder to like balance everything and make sure that they all had their own like character arc that was fully developed. Because like in previous multi-point of view novels that I've written, like the side characters would not necessarily have their own character arc. It would just be, really focused on that one main character, maybe 2. But in this one, I had to really make sure that everybody was fully fleshed out and had their own character arc. So that was kind of hard. Alex, Michelle, would you say she's morally gray? I'm assuming you're talking about Aleda, and yes, I do consider her to be more of a morally gray antagonist, which is kind of fun because a lot of the time we talk about like morally gray protagonists, right? And protagonists who are like not as heroic as your typical protagonist maybe, but Aleda is an antagonist to the other characters, and to write a morally gray antagonist who, like, even though they're terrible and they're doing bad things, and like she's not terrible, right? She's doing what she feels like she has to do, and she is a very sympathetic antagonist, I think, so that was kind of fun to write, for sure. Michelle, I don't read many multi-point of view stories, but I imagine 3 is my limit. Yeah, I struggle when there's more than, a handful. That's one of the reasons that I, just had to stop reading Game of Thrones. Because I was reading those for a while, and, was enjoying them up until, I don't know, book 4, maybe 5. Because, well, I don't even know how many are out now. 5, right? So it was the 4th book that I really started to be like, okay, I'm not enjoying this anymore. And it was mostly because there were just so many point of view characters, and I would get to a chapter that was from somebody I didn't care about, and I was like, I don't want to read this. I don't care what's happening to this person, so why am I reading their story? It really bothered me. And so I just don't do that anymore, and I totally messed that one up too. It's okay. It's a good thing I printed a lot of these, and I can totally print more if I need to. Let's see. Yeah, it is hard, I think, when there's too many points of view. Krista said, yeah, I've been seeing a lot more multi-point of view stories lately too, to the point where it's actually become like a marketing term that will get thrown around sometimes, right, for books, that oh yeah, this book is multi-point of view, and I actually use that in my marketing too as a selling point of the book. If you enjoy multi-point of view novels, maybe you'll enjoy this book. And I have seen that more. And honestly, I don't know, I like reading multi-point of view novels. I mean, I'm picky about it. I don't want to see 5, 6, 7 points of view, but I like multi-point of view novels. So, yeah, it would make me want to check a book out. Michelle says it also depends how long you go between switching characters. Yeah, I think that makes a difference too. That was one of the issues that I had with Game of Thrones too, was the characters that I really cared about, they would pop up and I'd be all excited to be back in their head for a minute, but then we wouldn't see them again for 8 or 9 or 10 or more chapters. And that was frustrating to me because I wanted to know what was going on with them. I just want to stay with that character for the story and read their story. I don't care about these other side characters so much. But hey, whatever works for you. Michelle, oh, I hope it doesn't become the usual. I still prefer, yeah, I don't imagine that single point of view stories will go away. I think those are really good too. And I think that those are more common. And I think as a writer, for a lot of people, I think in some ways it's easier to write. Not always, because it does kind of restrict you in terms of what you can show of the story. But, I don't know, I think it's a very valid and good way to tell a story. So I think that's great. Oh, Krista had to leave. Okay, thanks, Krista, for coming. I don't know if you're still here, but thank you. We'll see you later. All right, morally great antagonists. Yes, I hope you enjoy Aleda when you get to read her story. Yeah, Michelle said, yeah, skipping the chapter. Hope I know what's happening. See, that's the smart thing to do, right? Is to just skip the chapter. I can't bring myself to do that. I don't know. I just can't bring myself to do that. I'm either going to quit the book entirely or I'm just going to read it and hate it. So, anyways, but. Dun, 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 dun. What are your preferences on first-person stories? I struggle so much with them. I'm not sure if you're talking about as a reader or as a writer. I don't know. As a reader, I like them. Okay. I mean, I haven't seen many first-person stories outside of YA contemporary mostly, is where I see that. And I do read YA contemporary sometimes, not as much as I used to. And I think it works really well for those stories because they are often more like character focused, and it's like important to be in the main character's head directly. As a writer, I have written a handful of short stories in first person point of view, and but like that's a very deliberate choice when I do that because third person does come a lot more naturally to me. Um, I I like those kinds of stories best, like when the narrative voice is really strong and like when there's a really, really good, like, a really like the I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like when the character just like is like bleeding through the page, you know, and you can just see them and imagine exactly how they would talk to you if they were right there. That's when it works best for me. I actually, if you guys have seen the Cute Mutant series by S.J. Whitby, that was like the best use of first person point of view that I have ever seen in a book. The character's narrative voice is just like so strong and so like, I don't know, like every line is like, I don't know, it just feels like so specific to that character, and I love that. Like it worked really well. Yeah, I think I agree with you, Michelle. I think all styles are totally valid, and it really is just a matter of preference, and what you like. And I think a matter of execution too. Some stories I think are executed really well, and some authors do really well writing a certain point of view. Whereas other, like if I tried to write a first person novel, that would be a train wreck, honestly. Maybe someday I'll get up the courage to like go outside my comfort zone and do that. But I don't think it would go very well. Okay. Here's another question from AJ Torres. She asked, how was it writing this book compared to your previous ones? This book was like really special for me to write. I was super excited to finally get to write this. Not that I like couldn't have written it before, but I don't know. I have been wanting to tell this story for a really long time. I I actually have. So look, I was going through like my old sketchbooks yesterday, and I found these. So these are some of the characters that ended up being in Tethered Spirits, and I drew these in 2007 when I was 17 years old. So this is Kasari. Her name used to be Kaisa. Lucian was still Lucian. And her appearance is obviously very different now than it was back then. And then we have, this is a Mars character who, I mean, his character design is just fantastic. I was very influenced by Kingdom Hearts, if you guys have played that game. The character design style of that was like a thing for me when I was that age. So, and then this one is, his name is Saborin here. This is the character that eventually became Wizard Jameson. So, anyway, so these characters have been in my head for a really long time, and I have really been wanting to tell this story for a really long time. I did actually start writing like a draft of it in 2016, and that was that was at the time where I had shelved Secrets of Peace because it just was not working, and I had gone through like 20 billion drafts of that book and it wasn't working, and so I shelved it and started writing this book, and realized that I was not skilled enough at the time to weave everything together the way that I wanted to, and it just was a mess, and it wasn't coming together, and everything was very rushed, and it was just a mess. But it was still something, I was still very passionate about that story and really wanted to write it, and so I've just kind of had it sitting on the back burner for a really long time. And then when I finished Secrets of Peace, I was going to write this book, and then I got distracted by Calico Thunder Rides Again, which was only supposed to be like a short story, and then it became an entire freaking novel. So that was a really long sidetrack to writing this book. But it was probably good that I wrote that, because that kind of got me back into like fantasy and writing magic systems and all of that stuff. So it was a good like in between book to write. And then finally tackling this again, and just like writing it and seeing how far I'd come as a writer, and finally being able to tell this story that's been in my heart for so long. Like, it just, I don't know, it was really special. It means a lot to me that it's finally out there. So it's exciting. All right, I've missed the chat for a second. Dun, 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 dun. But yes, they are very cute drawings. I like to think that I have improved a lot as an artist since then. Yeah, I was 17 when I did those. Thanks, Alex. I have considered making a graphic novel, actually. But then I wrote that picture book and like did the illustrations for that. And like, it took a long time to do those illustrations because I just did not have the motivation. I would do one and then I would get sick of doing illustrations. And so it would be cool to write a graphic novel someday, but I don't know that it will ever happen. I have thought of doing like a short story or something as a graphic novel, and it would just be like, short. And that would be kind of cool, but we'll see. Eventually, someday, maybe. I think Alex has read Calico Thunder Rides Again. So, yes. Yep. I'm very fond of that book. Even though it was just supposed to be a short story, I was really excited with how it turned out, and I like it. It's one of my favorites. Let's see. Then we had, Alec asked me a couple of questions. Alec Petite writes on Twitter, if you guys want to go follow them. They asked me, what was your most favorite and least favorite parts of the book writing release process for Tethered Spirits? My favorite part was revisions. I always love doing revisions. Getting to write the characters better and like polish the story up the way that I want it to be. I really like that part of the writing process, and it was the same for this. I also really like the arc process. I did arcs for the first time, advanced reader copies. I did some with Calico Thunder Rides Again a little bit, but not really. And I completely tried a different thing with Tethered Spirits, and it went really well. And it felt really good to like see those early reviews come in. Many of them were very positive, which I was very grateful for. And just, I don't know, it's just exciting to like see the story resonating with people the way that I hoped it would. My least favorite part was release day. It was just stressful, and I was in that work training all day, and so I couldn't like respond to any issues that happened or be engaged with people on social media or do like any kind of marketing stuff. I actually wanted to do this live stream on release day, but like that just was not going to happen. And then I did end up having an issue with KDP for the paperback, and because of this training that I was in, I was not able to address that with them as quickly as I would like. And that was really stressful because I don't know, it was like a whole freaking nightmare. They just kept coming back to me saying that like I had uploaded a file that was like basically copyrighted, and that I wasn't the original owner of the content, and I had to like send them a bunch of stuff to prove that I am the original owner of the story, and it was just a mess. And so anyways, that made the paperback get pushed back a couple of days, which was super frustrating, but whatever. It's fine. I don't know. Amazon is so great. I freaking love them, she said with much sarcasm. Yes, if I do write a graphic novel, I'm sure I will need beta readers or all the help that I can get. Was there a part of Tethered Spirits that surprised you or just flowed so quickly you didn't have to think about it? Oh, that's a good question. Let me think for a second. A part that surprised me. When I got to the end, that was really surprising because I decided. So, Tethered Spirits was just going to be one book. I say that about all my books when I start them. Oh, yeah, this will just be like a standalone. It'll be great. And then that doesn't happen. So, or with Calico Thunder, right? Oh, it'll just be a short story. And obviously that didn't happen either. So, I got to the end and I was like, I don't like this ending. I feel like there's more of the story to tell, and I feel like, I don't know, the ending that I had for it was just really cobbled together and like not satisfying at all. So then I was like, oh, but what if you did this and this and this and this, and then you wrote a second book? And so that was a surprise because I didn't know I was going to be writing a second book, but now here we are. Another part that flowed and I didn't have to think about it. The scene, without getting spoilers, the scene like in the middle of the book with Jameson and like the memories, that scene, that chapter, I rewrote it a million times, over and over again. I think I did end up writing that like way back in 2016 and then rewrote it several times as I was writing the final version of the book. But that scene, even though I rewrote it several times, like the first time I wrote it, it very much just kind of flowed out and like all this stuff just came out. So that was really cool. And it's one of my favorite scenes in the book now. And a couple of people, like a few of my beta readers and stuff, mentioned that it was one of their favorite scenes too. So that made me really happy because it was like, I don't know, that was a tricky scene, I feel like, to get right. It could have gone very wrong. It could have been a giant mess. But I feel like it went really well. So I'm glad you loved that part, Michelle, also. Yes, the copyright thing is a giant pain in the butt. And like Amazon, KDP is already mad at me because of a situation that I had with the audiobook. I was trying to like do an audiobook box set bundle thing of the Secrets of Peace series now that all the audiobooks are finished. And something went wrong with that and they like completely blocked the box set version of the ebook. So like you can't even get it anymore and I can't unblock it to even go in and fix it or to like upload new files. And I emailed them about it and basically their response was, there's nothing else we can do, sorry, like that's it. And if you continue to like, you know, upload content like this, then we'll just block your account. So that wasn't great. And then like, so like, I know that they were already like mad at me or like that I'm like on their radar, right? And it's like I screwed up. And so I really am just fearful of my account getting blocked at this time, which would be really crappy. But hopefully that doesn't happen. And I'm really just kind of trying to fly under the radar and not do anything that will anger the Amazon gods right now. So that's where we're at with that. Okay, let me find the other questions we had here. Oh, I was on. Oh, I don't think I answered all of Alex's questions. Hold on. Okay, if you had to change one thing about Tethered Spirits, what would it be? That's a hard question. That's a hard question because I did change so much about it as I was writing it and as I was revising it. But if I had to change something else, I would probably want to put in more about Lucien's backstory. There were a lot of readers that were asking about Lucien's backstory or like very curious to know more about his backstory and like his history with Kisari. And I think that would be really cool to put that in there. But it just like it wasn't relevant enough to the story to justify including it, especially when the book is already 150,000 words long. So that ended up not being included and not being expanded. I know a lot of people asked for it, and I think I added like a couple of paragraphs in to kind of summarize things just to clear things up a little bit. But like as far as like an extensive deep dive into his backstory, I couldn't justify that. He may end up getting like a short story in the new year. I do have a couple of ideas for that, but honestly, I'm still trying to figure out his backstory a little bit too. So it's going to be a mystery to all of us. And how do I feel now that it's out in the world? I am just excited and happy that it's out in the world. And again, I mean, it's been in my heart for a long time, and I'm just excited to finally get to share it with everybody. So very happy about that. Oh. Yes, I am doing a short story for Lucian sometime. I wrote one already for... Something just happened and I don't know what it was. I think everything's okay, but okay, we're good. I thought I was having a technical issue. I did write a short story for... oh my gosh, who did I write a short story for? Oh, Saya. I wrote Saya's short story, and I sent that out recently. Matul has a short story that I just need to go in and like revise and polish up a little bit, and then I will send that out. His short story is a little slightly spoilery, so I wanted to wait until after the book was done to send that out. And then I do have like an idea for a short story for Lucian, and I was going to write it. I think I did mention it in like one of my YouTube videos that I was planning to write the short story for Lucian, but it hasn't happened yet. So it's, you know, it's an idea, and I will write it eventually, but not yet. Yes, Matul and Amar. Oh yeah, I forgot you beta read that short story. I did get your feedback. I don't think I ever responded to your email about that, but I did get that feedback back from you, so thank you for beta reading that. The past couple of weeks have been insane, and I like haven't had time to do much of anything. So, but yes, I will be revising Matul's short story and sending that out soon. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thanks for beta reading it. Okay. We had a couple of other questions. Alex, I have your questions that you had asked earlier, or just one question, I guess. And that question was, what inspired you to write Tethered Spirits? There were a lot of different things that inspired the story. Like I said before, there were just a bunch of characters from all of these different stories that I kind of cobbled together. I took a lot of inspiration at the time, like when I was, 17 years old, 18 years old, and these characters first popped into my head. I took inspiration from like a lot of my favorite stories at the time, which were things like Howl's Moving Castle was a big one. His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, that series, and The Iron Ring by Lloyd Alexander. And then also like anime that I was really into at the time. Full Metal Alchemist was one. And Chrono Crusade was another one. I really like that one. And so there's some inspirations of that in there. And then later, when I was rewriting it this time, I took inspirations from things like Six of Crows was a really big one, and also the Mass Effect video games, especially for Saya's story, which I know seems weird because it's like science fiction. But yeah, her story was very much inspired by Mass Effect. And then obviously just like there's like mental health themes in this book a lot, so those are kind of taken from my own experiences with mental health and being a mental health professional. So those were the inspirations for the book. And then let's see, I have a few last questions from my friend Stephanie, who beta read the book. And Stephanie is amazing. I love her. You know like the readers that I don't know, like sometimes they'll give the writing advice that like you should write your story for like that one reader who like is going to love it. And like obviously I wrote the book for myself and because it was the story I wanted to tell, but like Stephanie has been so supportive of this book since since she even saw like drawings of the characters, like before it was even a real book, and she has just been really supportive and encouraging, and like was super excited to beta read it and everything. And so like she is that one reader that I wrote this book in, like had in mind as I was writing this. So anyway, she's amazing, and she does really good art, so you should go check out her Instagram. I think it's Zeftastic with a X, but she's awesome. And she asked me several questions, so we'll try to get through them fairly quickly. Which character in Tethered Spirits do you relate to most, and why? Probably Aleda, actually, which was kind of surprising to me. For a long time, I felt like I related more to Kasari, but I think as I've gotten older and like matured, I see more of myself in Aleda now. Aleda is like, she's the older sibling. She's very committed to helping her younger brother and like taking care of him, and is willing to do anything for him. I have 5 younger brothers, and so like, I don't know, being an older sister and being kind of a caretaker to my younger siblings is like very much a part of my identity as a person. And then also she's an artist, and she doesn't always make the best choices, but she is really just, trying to do the best she can and survive in a world, and doesn't make the best choices as a result. But I really like her as a character, and I feel like I relate most to her. You've been pronouncing it Aleda. That's okay. I mean, whatever pronunciation works for you. Aleda is one of those names that was taken from, so the Vasan names come from like Roman, I think Latin, something like that. That's where I got those names from. So I think it's Aleda, but it could be Aleda. Who really knows? You could be right. Let's see. Is there a character in Tethered Spirits or any other books you would be friends with in real life? I'm trying to think. Who would I be friends with in Tethered Spirits? Matul is the obvious, easy answer, because I feel like he would be friends with anybody. Not necessarily because I would like befriend him, but like he is just so wholesome and good and amazing, and like would be friends with anybody who, talk to him for 5 minutes. So probably him. Who would play Amar, Kess, or Aleda in a movie or TV show? I don't know. I have no idea. I know a lot of writers like to like cast their characters, right, and like use famous people or like actors as references for characters, and I do that a lot too, but for this particular book I just did not, so I don't know. I have no idea. Some unknown people, and as long as they're like, like visually, not visually, like, appropriate in terms of the representation. Like, I obviously don't want white people playing the brown characters, but other than that, like, whoever, I guess. What is your favorite writing snack or drink? I don't know. I like chocolate. Chocolate's a good snack to have, and popcorn. I like popcorn too to eat while I'm writing. I recently discovered coffee. I never have drunk coffee before. But I did recently discover coffee, and I really like coffee, so that's another one that has been recently added to my writing snacks, which I feel like makes me a real writer now, right? Like, writers love coffee, right? That's the cliche, and we're all just kind of running on coffee, and I had never drank coffee until a couple months ago, and now I really like it, so that's fun. What software do you use to write your book? I use Microsoft Word, or at least I have been. I think I need to like switch to Google Docs, just because I want to be able to like do more writing on the go and like just open it up really quick and, draft a few sentences or whatever as I'm in between appointments at work, or as I'm just kind of out and about and doing stuff at my kids, all of the stuff that I have to shuttle my kids to or whatever. So I should probably switch over to that. Oh, Jordan! My brother's here. Jordan! Hi, Jordan! Thanks for coming. So Jordan is my brother, and he also helped with this book. So shout out to Jordan for being awesome and helping. He read parts of this story and gave me some feedback on it, and he's the best. I don't have any favorite brothers, but like of all my brothers, Jordan is my best friend. So hi, Jordan. Let's see. Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, Saya would be a good one to be friends with too. She would be a cool friend to have. And she, yeah, I could be friends with her. At first, I wanted to say that like, I don't know, she's kind of, like, I don't know, she would be annoyed by me or something. But I don't think she would actually. I think she would. She's pretty tolerant of people and their just people in general, and so she might be a good friend. Let's see. Writer's blood consists of coffee and chocolate. Yes. Yep. Right. Coffee and chocolate. I feel like I am living up to the cliche now of being a writer, so feel great about that. Let's see. Other question. Be friends with. So that means you can't annoy her too much. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know. I think of the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Saya is that she's like a strong, like badass kind of character, right? And she does have this softer, nurturing side to her, but ultimately, she is like this badass warrior person. And in that way, she very much reminds me of Zira in some ways. And I have always said and thought that like Zira would not want to be my friend, and she would be very annoyed by me, and she would think that I am like incompetent and stupid, and we would not be friends in real life. So, but Saya, I think Saya would be more friendly for sure. Let's see. What's the best way to improve your writing skills? That's a hard question. I think that's different for everybody. Honestly, I think the best way is to like practice. And the more you write, the better you get at it. It's like anything else, right? The more you do something, the better you get at it. And also to read a lot of books. I have found that like the more I've been reading and the more that I look at stories and like what makes them work or what makes them not work for me, or what makes characters work, or what it makes this character so much more compelling than this other one. The more you consume stories and think about things like that, I think that can really help your skills as a writer as well. And it doesn't even have to be books. I think books are really helpful in terms of like the mechanics of writing and learning to like put a coherent sentence together. But I do think that like stories in video games or in TV shows or movies or anything else, like those are very valid forms of storytelling as well, and there's a lot to be learned that you can apply to writing a book as well. Let's see, next question from Stephanie. Can you share a little bit about what you're planning for the sequel? Let's see, what am I planning for the sequel that I can share? Probably the thing that I'm most excited about in the sequel is the relationship that develops between like two characters and then these two characters over here, but like one is overlapping. And I don't want to say who that is because I don't want to like give it away too much. But there is one relationship that is kind of like a father, like surrogate father-child relationship that kind of develops. And I like that. I just really like that trope where like one character is like becomes a surrogate parent to the other one who is, you know, like needs a supportive adult figure in their life. So that trope I'm really excited about. And then the father figure in that relationship actually has a romantic relationship that I am super excited about writing. Probably more than I am about anything else in the story, honestly. It's a minor subplot. It does not matter that much in the grand scheme of things, but it's going to be amazing and cute and precious, and I'm very excited about it. So that's what we have planned for the sequel. Let's see, Saya has kind of a mama bear energy, like don't mess with anyone she cares about because she cares a lot. Yes, I'm glad that came across in the in the story, because that's kind of how I see her too. And I'm glad you're excited about the romance as well, because I am. I'm very excited about the romance. I actually started drafting book 2 this past weekend. Yeah. And like, I've been seriously considering. Usually I just draft my stories from start to finish and like start at chapter 1 and we write the whole thing until we get to the end. And I don't skip around a lot, and I just very linear write it all the way to the end. And that's how I have it outlined. I know exactly what needs to happen. But I have been very much considering like just jumping around to all of those chapters and just writing the romance, because that's what I'm excited about and that's what I want to write. So that may end up being what I'm doing, especially because I've been having a hard time like getting in the groove of drafting again. So maybe I just need to do that. We'll see. Couple more questions. So will it be a duology for sure? Or no, it will be a trilogy. I do think the next 2 books will be shorter. I'm aiming for them to be like 100,000 words instead of 150,000 words. So they will be a little shorter, which is, I mean, that's kind of the nature of fantasy trilogies, I feel like. In the first book, you have to do a lot of setup and like magic system stuff and like the world building stuff. And then the next 2 books, I hopefully will not have to do as much of that. There's still things that need to be brought up and explained, but not as much. So those should be shorter, but it will be 2 books. So the initials for book 2, I will tell you that as well. I'm calling it RP for now. And the initials for book 3, that one already has a title as well, because somehow I actually have a title for my books before I've written them, which is miraculous. But that one is, the initials are RE. So, I mean, guess the title if you want to, but let's see. Do you have a favorite couple of all the couples you've written? I don't know. This new couple might be my favorite that I'm going to write, but I think Jake and Grace always will have a soft spot in my heart. Their relationship, not all of it, but like certain elements of it are very much based on like my relationship with my husband, and I actually dedicated the book to my husband for that reason. I just like them as a couple. Like, they're very realistic. I feel like they are like cute and, you know, sweet to each other, but they also are like dealing with very real problems and like arguing about things that are very personal and very real to them. And like, they're not perfect, you know, and they fight and they argue, and we see that in the story. I don't know if you guys can hear all the noise from outside my door right now, but my dog is being very naughty out there and doing something. I don't know what he's doing. Probably nothing good, but that's what that noise is. So yeah, Jake and Grace are probably my favorite. And yeah, I think that I may end up just jumping around and write those romance scenes and some of the other scenes that I'm more excited about. Except also, Tethered Spirits is, yep, and RP is Rip Paper, and RE is Really Enthralling. Those are great titles. I think you're right on the money there, Michelle. Those are great. I should just change the titles to those. Like, those are 100, like, so perfect. Those are great. Great titles. Love it. Yeah, I really like Jake and Grace too. So thank you, Alex. I'm glad that you like them as well. A couple more questions. Let's see. I already did that one. What are you currently reading? I am currently reading The Windward King by K.T. Ivanrest. That is an indie book. That one's really good. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm not very far into it, but I am starting to like figure out the characters more and become more invested in them, and I am really liking that. It's about like this, so the main character is a shapeshifter, and then the other character that we're following, his name is Korith, and he is the best. I love him. And then I'm also listening to, what is the book called? It's a thriller book, and I don't remember the author's name. Oh, Razorblade Tears. I'm listening to that on audiobook, and I'm almost done with that one. I went into it with really high hopes because it was, I've heard really good things about it, and it's been good. Like, I don't know, it's nothing like, it's not like mind-blowing for me. It's good, but I think my expectations were like way up here, and we'll see where we're at by the end. But I'm enjoying it. It's fine. And also, like, that's a genre that I don't read as much in, and thrillers are very hit or miss for me. I like a good thriller, but it's, I don't know. I don't even know what I like in a thriller. I just know that some of them really work for me and some just really don't. And I don't read thriller as much, but so that one is a thriller, and it's decent, but we'll see. We'll see how it ends. Is there a genre you would like to write that you haven't tried yet? I would really like to write like an actual science fiction novel, and I think when I'm done with Tethered Spirits and this series, I will be writing a science fiction novel involving my favorite trope, or one of my favorite tropes, of the derelict spaceship, right? Like this spaceship that's like haunted and awful, and something horrible has happened on it, and like your character is wandering around trying to figure out what happened on the spaceship, and there's monsters or whatever. You know, like the haunted spaceship trope. That's like my absolute favorite thing ever. And so I want to write a story like that. So after I finish this one, I will be doing that. I mean, technically, Secrets of Peace is like science fiction, I guess, right? It's dystopian, so it's under that science fiction umbrella. But this will be more of like a really, truly science fiction story. So I'm super excited about that. And I think that is all the questions that were submitted. I think I got them all. Yes. That's it. And it's been about an hour, a little more than an hour, so I think I will go ahead and end it there. If you guys have any last questions or anything else, I mean, I'll leave the chat open for a few minutes, but thank you all for coming and joining me and hanging out. It was really nice to be here and not just be talking to myself. So thank you for coming and participating. It means a lot. Yes, Secrets of Peace is science fiction technically. It feels less science fiction to me, I guess, just because there's like not aliens and spaceships in it, but yes, it is still technically science fiction. But I'm very excited about the haunted spaceship story. The main character of that haunted spaceship story, by the way, I already decided is going to be like a grandma, and she's going to be a badass, and I'm very excited about her character. I think I gave her a name already in my outline. I just don't remember what it is, but I'm really excited to write her story and write like the grandma character. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming to my first live stream. Michelle was great and like helped me figure out how to do a live stream and like how to feel more comfortable doing it. So thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Alex, also for coming. It was really great chatting with you too. And I'm glad you guys had fun. And if you pre-ordered, I will be sending those out hopefully tomorrow. So be on the lookout in the mail, and you should be getting that stuff soon. And thank you for your interest in the book and for your support. You guys are awesome, and I will see you guys next time. We'll go ahead and end it now. Oh, maybe. How do we end the... Oh, okay. Never mind. Here we go. We're ending it now for real.